feel like Gordon Bombay would have taken his career to even further heights.
Everything's flashy, everything's cocaine, everything's
Fun.
Open wide for some soccer.
I don't care what you think about what your personal thoughts are at home. I care that you hate the Cowboys.
Call this college rule.
Welcome, everybody, to the Sports Experience Podcast. I'm Chris. This is Dom. Please give our YouTube a like and a share. Maybe start commenting on some stuff.
Please comment.
Trying to get some numbers up there. And you know what? We're right in the middle of a block episode. What are we blocking about?
We're blocking brothers in baseball, Chris.
That's right.
A lot
That's
of good
3
brothers
Bs.
in baseball. Triple Bs.
3 Bs. Brothers, we're back with the second half of the Waner household.
Second half of the Waner household. That's right.
Back with Lloyd. That's Lloyd with 2 L's because ladies love
Double L for that extra dose of pimpin', Oklahoma style.
Lloyd Waner.
Lloyd James Waner. He didn't get his middle name changed, Chris.
Which is
nobody bought him a gun.
It's unfortunate that and this is I could tell by his childhood is that no one bought him a gun. It's not that other things didn't happen. It was just like obvious when your name isn't changed at 5, he didn't get a shotgun.
Because it's Oklahoma, Chris, and they didn't give him a Rambo knife.
That's right.
Even that. Lloyd James Waner, born March 16th, 1906, in Oklahoma territory.
It's a territory, y'all.
Not even a state.
It's a territory, y'all.
The younger brother to Paul Waner, Ralph Waner, and 2 sisters. His dad, Ora, mom, Etta. His dad was from Illinois. His mom was from Iowa. And they ended up in Oklahoma as part of the land rush in the 1880s.
That's right.
Which is, we have free land. Maybe we stole it from the Indians. Maybe we didn't. But you can just settle it.
I was going to say, if you come and settle it and make it a state, you can have it. And that's kind of what that was.
You guys want to do something with it?
Well,
go ahead.
We see his father not taking the tryout with the White Stockings.
Mm-hmm.
Instead, to run this 400-acre farm that he got for free that we might have stolen from someone.
Yeah, maybe. He acquired it, Chris.
There you go.
He acquired the land through some ingenuity.
Let 2 white guys tell you about it.
Growing up on the farm, all the boys did all sorts of different chores, which kind of helped them become country strong despite their small stature.
It's true.
Chores like milking cows help with their hand strength. They would talk about walking 6 miles to school and lifting heavy things all around the farm. And his dad, because he was such a baseball type of guy, he managed a local team of Wainers and Beavers. That's his mom's maiden name.
Whoa.
Not real Beavers, not other Beavers, which were the in-laws. So, much like his brothers, we talked in the previous episode, the corn cob hitting in the barn. That's what did it.
It really made these brothers to be great hitters, even though they were beaver chasers, just like their father.
Everyone's a beaver chaser, Chris, at this time. I mean, where are you going to go? He would talk about, because we talked about in the Martinez episode, a lack of resources. They would cut down saplings from trees to make bats, and they would talk about how they would warp and not make a real bat, and yet they're hitting corn cobs, curving and darting and dipping, ducking and diving and dodging, much like White Goodman.
5
Patches
Ds.
O'Houlihan.
It's the 5 Ds that really made their batting what it was.
1900s Oklahoma sounds like 1960s Dominican Republic.
Now we're talking.
Just a scotch. Unlike his brother Paul, who was a all-around great player, Hall of Fame, Lloyd's game was speed, because speed is the name of the game, Chris.
It's true. He was a leadoff hitter right away. And they were 2 very different types of players, even though hitting really was mirroring each other, which is pure contact. But yeah, speed, name of the game.
Speed, and then the only other difference was Lloyd
Defense?
threw. Well, both were really good on defense. Lloyd was a little bit better, but Lloyd threw right and Paul threw left. That was it. They were both lefty hitters, though. But he was a stud in high school, in track and field and baseball. They nicknamed him Scratch because of how he could leg out those infield hits. You know why? After a hard day of working at the farm, Chris, he did not want to do push-ups in the batting cage.
It's true.
Yeah. Every single one that he popped in the air.
Every time you pop one up, you're going to be doing push-ups.
You owe me 20 push-ups.
Barely lift my arms. I read my contract, and it says that I don't have to do any extra exercise that I don't feel necessary.
Oh, tire world. In high school, which was Harrow High School's rival, it was Meeker High School. His main rival was pitcher and eventual Hall of Fame pitcher and one of the greatest screwballers of all time, Carl Hubble.
Which I thought
Oklahoma has an insane, just the amounts of Hall of Fame talent that state has produced in baseball is ridiculous.
But it's just one of those spider webs where you're like, oh, the Hall of Fame pitcher pitched against that Hall of Fame batter in high school? All right.
In rural
And
Oklahoma territory?
Yes, not a state, a territory, and their high schools were rivals, so there was only one other high school, and everybody just thought they sucked.
So Carl goes, they had asked him about that later in life. Asked him about Lloyd. He's like, oh my, was he a handful? Scratch, I played against him in high school, and I couldn't get him out then. He'd hit a high hopper back to the mound and beat it out. It was the damnedest thing I ever saw.
Yeah.
Because speed is the name of the game. Speed is the name of the game.
He goes to college just like his brother and drops out just like his brother, but I feel like he
earned his teaching certificate.
Oh, he did?
He did.
Oh, okay.
He was a teacher.
He was a teacher.
Not sure that he ever used it, but
Okay.
he finished.
Oh, that's what it was. I don't think he ever actually used it to teach, but
Yeah.
he did finish. And I saw that because he did go to try and, like his brother, kind of go into the minors, and I saw he struggled.
Well, I think a lot of it in 1925, after he was signed to San Francisco, as we discussed in the Paul episode, was their outfield was so crowded, number one. He's just a younger kid at that time, too, to where if you're not an established veteran, because like I said, the PCL at that time, you're sending guys to the majors constantly at this point. You're like the makeshift minor league, one of the makeshift minor leagues for him. You're not going to, as a 19-year-old kid with barely fur on your pages, if your outfield's stacked and you play center, he wasn't an outfielder at this time, but you're not going to see the field, However, there's an interesting contract that comes up and an interesting opportunity for Lloyd that comes with his brother.
With his brother. Mm-hmm. So his brother almost, and I'm interested to know how it went down, but his brother almost vouched, being like, I'm good. He's going to be this good. It's almost like the Martinez.
Or like Ramon going like, trust me on this one.
But it's hard to know.
Because he played in only 6 games for San Francisco.
But it's just hard to know the ins and outs of what was actually said, because he did get signed by the Pirates. So
in 26,
It's weird to see him not play, get signed, and then just be like, yeah, fuck it. I mean, we're going to.
But it's almost like he was a throw-in.
Yeah.
In this, it was Paul and then the shortstop we discussed, and then Paul's younger brother.
Yeah.
Just like, okay, we'll do it to make everybody happy. Unlike Paul, who jumps to the majors, Lloyd goes in 1926 to the Columbia Comers of the South Atlantic League. All he does is lead the team in hits, triples, batting average, and by that point, he's ready to go.
MVP of I forgot what the league was
Sally
called.
League.
The Sally League. It's just, you see really the chance that they took on him. They were just kind of like, yeah, that was right.
You mean like a 130-pound younger brother pitcher for the Dodgers?
That's correct, sir.
Yeah.
Only if these Padres listened.
Oh, they don't. The Padres are a PCL team at this time. Actually, they're playing the Seals.
True.
So at 27, he makes the Pirates out of spring training. He's moved from second base to center field, which is honestly a good move because he has so much range in the outfield. Like just
with his speed,
with his ability to track the ball and everything else. He's starting in center, playing next to his brother in right, batting leadoff. His brother's batting cleanup, and 27 was a great season for both brothers, which is Lloyd's rookie year.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. As we discussed in the first episode, they win the National League. Lloyd hits .355, 2 dingers and 27 RBIs, but he has 223 hits, which is still the most in National League history for a rookie. That is insane.
Well, and this is what we were talking about with the corn cob, where these boys are out corn cobbing.
Corn cobbing with some bourbon.
They were talking about how great Paul is at the plate. And then Lloyd comes rookie season, and his plate discipline is even better. So his
plate discipline is even, like we talked about the walk to strikeout ratio. Lloyd's is even better than Paul's, which is crazy.
In his rookie season, he has 23 strikeouts. So just to put that in perspective,
He has more RBIs than strikeouts.
he has 223 hits, so he's hitting all the time. That's what I mean with these brothers. They play every single day, and he struck out 23 times in this whole season. Obviously, the Pirates make the World Series.
And obviously, as we discussed, they're swept by murderers.
And he didn't even have that great of a
Oh, he did terrible in this World Series, Chris. Just terrible.
batted 400. What do you think? That's good? You think 400 against these Yankees is good?
You think 400 against Murderers Row is going to win you a title?
This is what I mean by him and his brother actually had great World Series, and this is his rookie season. So I feel like a lot of people thought they were going to go, but like we discussed in the Paul episode, they get second a lot, no wild card, and it really, you see a team that should have had more World Series under their belts just don't.
One thing about the 27 offseason I wanted to say, we didn't bring up in the last episode, because in those days, you don't go back to your McMansions and, go to some rigorous training outfit. In 27, they went back to Oklahoma, and they started a vaudeville act in their Pirates uniforms.
Oh
my God.
Another one where I had to read it twice, where I was
Right?
like, wait, what? And they even said they used their uniforms to be like, you guys know us. Ba, 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 ba.
Cigarette girl coming around. Everyone gets a camel. Paul played the saxophone. Lloyd told jokes. Yes.
And they
God damn it.
And they were drunks. This is what I mean.
This is the best part.
Is they're just two drunks telling jokes. Maybe one has a saxophone. We have yet to cover that.
Remember when we had apprehension about well, should we do one or two? No, we needed to do two to bring this important aspect. This is the Sports Experience podcast of episodes.
This is where we finally spiderwebbed into vaudeville.
Oh, God.
We never thought it was going to happen, and here we are.
They had one of their opening jokes was Paul came out on stage first. Lloyd came out a little bit later, asked him where he was, and Lloyd said, chasing down Babe Ruth's last hit in the World Series. Even self-deprecating. God bless you, Wainers. Oh, God. They were very... one thing I will add about both brothers, I kind of alluded to it in the Paul one, though, is 1930s Oklahoma for regular Americans wasn't really a great place to be as far as the poverty and economic hardship, but both of the brothers kind of understood how lucky they were to be able to be playing a game and have everything not necessarily handed to them, but almost a life on easy street compared to going back home every single off. And we see that in our student athlete type of episodes where...
Well, they had an income in which I bet nobody in Oklahoma had. And on top of that, they kind of understood because this is where they came from. So
they're going out California way to find some internet.
I wonder if they were even making money off of their vaudeville thing, if they were just kind of entertaining their
they were
hometown.
Paid
you know what I mean?
In bourbon, Chris. Woo. They were paid in bourbon.
Aren't we all?
I mean, I've been paid for plenty of shows in that, but we'll get into that maybe in another episode.
We all, sirs.
28 and 29, he's still one of the best center fielders and leadoff hitters in the game. Between those 2 years, 50 doubles, 34 triples. He's got 10 dingers. He's got a little pop.
He's got a little.
His brothers.
For a leadoff.
Hit 344 between both of those seasons and led both the MLB in at-bats in 29 and triples with 20. The guys don't have that in a career.
And this is what we were kind of saying was either it's him or his brother having these stats as number one for the Pirates every single time, and it's literally Waner, somebody else, Waner, and that's what the chicks were doing the whole time because they're just Eiffel Tower in this. He had in his first 3 seasons he had 678 hits. As your leadoff hitter, you couldn't ask for anything better.
And you know what he's doing? He's putting the ball on the ground and legging them out.
It's so true. It's ridiculous.
Do you want to get into their... Because we brought up Paul's in the first episode, but there's kind of some interesting background to both of their nicknames.
Oh, yeah. Bring up because I didn't catch that
Okay.
one. So Paul is Big Poison.
Paul is Big Poison. Lloyd is Little Poison. And we talked about Paul being about 5'8", 5'9", about 155 pounds. Lloyd's about 5'8", 5'7"-ish, 145.
Yeah, he's definitely a lot skinnier.
And they're nicknamed Big Poison and Little Poison, which I wish Belle Biv DeVoe was around in the 1920s, Chris, because those dudes were poison. If I were you, NL pitcher, I would take precaution.
The crew used to do her.
God damn it. Yes, they did. Anyway, people would always assume that they were nicknamed Big Poison and Little Poison because they were poisonous to opposing pitching staffs. According to Lloyd and Paul, that is not the case because in 1927, they're playing a game in the Polo Grounds in New York to play the Giants. According to them, there was an Italian fan in the center field bleachers who had a loud voice that could carry. That doesn't sound like Italians to me, Chris. It just doesn't. That just seems like a horrible racial stereotype.
I don't think I've ever heard Italian that yells.
Not even on this podcast have you ever heard it.
Not even on this podcast when the Padres make a horrible.
There were in between games in the doubleheader, and this guy with an accent that could only resemble the Three Stooges or Andrew Dice Clay kept yelling "Big Poison, Little Poison" at both the Waner brothers. Sports writers caught on to that. And by the way, Paul and Lloyd, they loved this dude.
Oh, yeah.
They gave him an autographed baseball. They were friends with him. They were always excited to play in New York because of this
Because he was
amped up
there
Guido.
yelling. Yeah.
Goo. But the sports writers picked it up, and because they thought he was saying poison for each of them instead of poison, that's how they both got their nicknames.
That's some great.
And both of them said no other players called them those nicknames.
Yeah. It was literally just this one guy, Polo Grounds, all the way 600 feet back. We all know how far that was.
That Willie Mays center field catch, everyone.
We all know how far that was. And then we get into a little bit of injuries for Little Poison.
Yeah, Little Poison. One thing, 30 and 31. He has appendicitis in 1930.
Yep.
Misses the first 3 months. Still hits 362.
But let me say this, because he has appendicitis, he gets out of the hospital, he re-enters the hospital, and then there were talks about him retiring.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw that, because they were talking about, they were like, we really don't know. When you re-enter the hospital, they're like, whoa, what the fuck?
Well, this is the time where if you go into the hospital, you might not come back.
So he comes back, and you're right. He has a pretty good season. 31, he really comes back where you're like, oh, he's at,
leads the entire baseball in at bats, hits 214, hits 314, and then 32 to 35, still putting up those same numbers. The Pirates are just finishing second, third every year.
Yes.
Hits over that 4-year span, hits 301, has 327 runs, and I wanted to bring up this walk to strikeout ratio: 113 walks, 41 strikeouts. He's making contact.
No, God, it is so hard to get hard to get these Waners out.
Is he scoring all the time? No, but he's getting a handy J in the restroom.
Yes.
That's what
for
he's
sure.
doing. Every at bat.
For sure.
Every at bat, something's coming out, Chris.
Yes, for sure.
One major thing about his game was he was an expert bunter, especially from the left side. Wasn't a prolific base stealer, which I found weird. I guess he had mentioned something about not being able to read pitchers well, to where he couldn't be as effective as other guys in that era, but just an absolute speed demon out of the box. He had talked about another Oklahoma baseball player, third baseman Pepper Martin of the Cardinals, who would get pissed at having to field bunts where he wouldn't even throw it to first base. If you bunted on him, he'd throw it at you.
Oh, yeah.
He said he always ran to first base with his hands over his head when they played him.
It's so good.
This year I did want to bring up, also in 31, one of the 2 years he led the NL in assists, led the NL in putouts 4 times, and twice in double plays. So, not a liability. In fact, one of the better center fielders during that era.
I was going to say,
3 times fielding percentage. Sorry, I didn't mention that.
he really was a great center fielder. And moving him to center field was one of these baseball moves. You're like, nowadays, you're just like, oh yeah, obviously he has all the speed.
He played second base before. Yeah.
So that was just one of those things. I wanted to double down on this. I did think it was weird that he literally was just not a base stealer like whatsoever, in which he wasn't even like trying, where he knew that he would get thrown out because he was just like, I just couldn't find that rhythm, because he was probably one of the fastest guys in baseball at this time.
He's probably just like, get me on base, I'll score.
Yep.
Might not swipe the extra bag, but if you hit a flare into the gap and I'm on first, I'm scoring standing up.
You pay me to get on first, not get thrown out at second. You guys know a movie.
A little bit of Billy Bean action there.
You guys know a movie or two.
36 to 37, another 310 hits, 36 doubles, 12 triples, 78 RBIs. So he can knock him in.
I did see in 36 he did get pneumonia.
Yeah.
And when he first got it, his doctors were like, all right, so he could die. And then I remember thinking, and this is exactly what I thought with his appendicitis, where they brought him back in. And it was just like literally every time you go into the hospital, the doctors are like, okay, so he could die.
Yeah. Just preface it
That was just like their first thing. It was
This
just
is
like
1936. We're going to see how this one pans
we
out.
literally have no idea if he's going to. We don't know. We don't know. That's what we're trying to say. Like, that's what I feel like they.
Don't sue.
Because he does come back in April and has like a great season in 36, but it just made me laugh with both of his times going to the hospital. They're just like, I don't know.
Come out? Yeah, I don't know.
Who knows?
Keep your fingers crossed.
You know what? I think we're going to leech him. Like, we don't do that anymore. It's just like we do.
Yeah, right. Oh God.
38, he's an all-star.
Yeah, first time
Which
he's an all-star.
I love. You know what I mean? Because he does have like a little bit of sickness. God, I wish this Pirates team.
I wish they were in the World Series.
Yeah.
Hits 313.
Yep.
25 doubles, 5 dingers. Unfortunately, as we brought up in the Paul episode, they're up in September on the Cup, which is always weird to see the Cubs in this era come back and steal people's dreams before losing.
Yep.
The Gabby Hartnett homer in the Gloman game, that one hurt even more because he hit it to dead center over Lloyd's head. He said he saw it in his sleep for the longest time. I know I didn't move. I just looked around disgusted.
Yep.
Which is, oh, God, it has to kill you as a player to watch that.
It's a bummer.
Total bummer, man.
It's a total bummer.
This
but
is a
just,
bummer.
Just you see why the wild card is kind of important, because you had teams that were just good enough to make the playoffs and they didn't. And 38, it was his only all-star, right?
38 is his only all-star,
Yeah.
and that might have been the last good season, much like Paul.
I was just say he really drops off right here.
39, he's losing playing time to Vince DiMaggio.
Yeah.
There in center field.
He was getting a different kind of yell out at the Polo grounds.
Oh, well, you got to support your paisans, Chris. You have to. Not some rube from Oklahoma. No, I'm just joking. But hits only 285 that year, and then by 1940, him and Paul are basically bench players.
Yep.
Like they're almost out of it. 1940, only 166 at bats. Paul's gone that December, and then Lloyd's all by himself for only 3 games in 41. And then he's traded to the Braves, which is nice because he ends up playing again with Paul. He said that getting traded from the Pirates, though, that first time was the saddest day of his career.
Oh, I'm sure.
Because both guys, you automatically associate, if you even know who they are, with
Pirates.
the Pittsburgh Pirates.
You wouldn't even think of them as anybody else, which to get to the end of this, I really like. So he goes to the Braves, and then he really bounces around.
He's traded to Cincinnati. In 41, he plays for 3 teams, the
Yes.
Pirates, the Reds, and then as well as the Braves. I did want to bring up this year, well, he has only 219 at-bats and hits 292. He has 0 strikeouts.
Yeah.
0!
Which is one of my favorite things at the end of his career. Literally, he is at his twilight, like end of his career, 0 strikeouts.
Oh, my God.
And then because the Pirates are actually a cool organization, they let him come back and pretty much retire because they know he's like done.
Well, I mean, from 41 to 43, 44, the only reason he is still playing with teams like Philadelphia and Brooklyn. He even retires in 43 to go work at Douglas Aircraft Plant in Oklahoma City during the war is because World War II has taken away all of the younger
because everybody's gone
players.
Yeah.
And he's too old to serve in the military, but it's like, you guys remember the late 20s?
Which I'm just saying, I did kind of like that when they brought him back
it's awesome.
in 44, whatever the hell it was. Because he was just like what we were saying. You associate him as a Pirate with his brother. Just
an absolute speedster.
I
Maybe
loved
not
it.
the batting titles, but just a damn fine Depression-era ball player. From 46 to 49, he works as a field clerk in Oklahoma City for the government. And then he worked up until 46 to 49, he was a scout for the Pirates. And then after that, he was a field clerk till 1967 in Oklahoma City until he just retired with a normal job. The saddest part is, though, I shouldn't say it's not sad for him in the fact that in 67, the Veterans Committee elects him to the Baseball Hall of Fame, which is more than well-deserved. Pie Traynor said he should have been in the Hall of Fame a long time ago. he was unjustly lived in his brother Paul's shadow. Paul was a great player, but so was Lloyd.
Oh, for sure.
And the saddest part is he makes it in 2 years after Paul dies, which I think would have been really cool for
If
both.
Paul would have,
Been able to see it. Unlike Paul was not a big drinker during his career, but it really intensified
after
he retired.
Yes.
And it intensified so much that up until maybe a few years before he died, when he finally got clean and sober, everything kind of went out of sorts as far as, relationships and things of that nature.
He did have a quote where he felt like alcohol ruined him and his brother's life, and they would have had a lot more productive or like lived a better life if they weren't raging alcoholics for all those years.
Oh, definitely.
He definitely said that, and I think he said that in his Hall of Fame speech, where he was just talking about how alcohol back then wasn't. I mean, like the management just asked politely for them to switch, or for his brother to switch to alcohol.
Just switch
to
beer.
So that's my only thing. Not to be like, hey, you need to stop. They were just like, can you please just. That's the kind of era that they were coming from. So,
Going over his stats here: 316 batting average, 2,459 hits. They both brothers did want to bring up the most combined hits by brothers in Major League Baseball history, and it's not close.
no, they are way ahead.
You got three Alous who are like the Wayans family of the Dominican, and then you got who else? The DiMaggios after that, and only really two of the brothers, Dom and Joe, who lost a significant portion to the Second World War.
Yep.
But no, I mean you have almost 6,000 hits between two brothers.
Yeah.
281 doubles, 113 triples. 27 dingers, 598 RBIs. He struck out, though, I did want to bring this up, only once in 44.9 at-bats. One of three players in Major League history to only do that over 40 at-bats in 5,000 career plate appearances. That is insane.
Yeah. His strikeout ratio is really something that is Hall of Fame-esque, and that's why he should be and is in the Hall of Fame, because that literally 1 out of 44 strikeouts.
45 at-bats.
45 at-bats. Yeah.
Like, that's ridiculous. That's just not right. Like, that is a stat we'll never see again in baseball. Ended up dying July 22nd, 1982 from complications of emphysema. So went a little longer than his older brother, but not in particularly great health.
Yep.
So, but Paul and Lloyd Waner, big poison, little poison. Hope you all enjoy that episode.